What happens when the gimmick goes too far into reality and a certain nerve that is hit all of a sudden becomes too much? That's the case of Ricochet, an AEW wrestler, a great performer all the time, but he has weaknesses. And his weaknesses kind of sometimes gives him a certain feeling of inferiority, a certain critique of his that he's not a good promo, he's not a good character. And that annoys him to the point where he became a gimmick. What is this gimmick? The gimmick is him becoming a troll like the internet, in which he dishes what he takes. Which is fine, by the way. Being a heel, dishing what you take, MJF do it, they all do it. It's great work, it does great. But the thing is, when you do too much of it, the audience kind of becomes different, right? They kind of make excuses for you. They kind of give you leeway. And everything you do is, oh, he's a heel. To the point where the gimmick becomes more of a personality. And then all of a sudden, the heel work becomes too much at times. And what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? We are talking about Ricochet this. By the way, I do want to point out this is air gold. Air gold is typically, I think this is the right air gold. There's counterfeit air gold. So if this is not the right air gold, I apologize, but the statement still hangs true. I think he's an AEW fan, which is fine, but that's great that the AEW fans are calling him out on this because it needs to be called out. This is what happens. We'll see. We see she has MS, a disease that's like incurable. I don't know if it's incurable, but it has spine issues, and it's a very serious disease that should be taken very, very seriously. His acting hasn't improved. Out of all the criticisms, this is the lightest one. His acting hasn't improved. It hasn't, to be fair, but this is still light. People, I will tell you the truth. People on this app have threatened his wife, threatened him, do crazy things. They have said crazy things to him. And I get it, going back at him, saying crazy things back. This right here is light. This is very light. This is a critique. This is a critique that you can say, oh, that's just your opinion, right? But y'all see his response, right? Y'all see his response. I'm glad you got MS. That right there is a bridge too far. A step too far. Way too much. Why would you tell someone that? I don't know if she actively watches AEW or she just watches WWE. I don't know the critique. But it's just a critique that is acting improved, meaning she probably watched it and wasn't impressed. And that's fair. And some things like that are fair. But this is what I'm talking about, the gimmick, right? Responding to hate. When your gimmick becomes responding to hate, come up a little closer. Becomes weird. And what I mean by that is, you respond too much. A lot of it gets to you. Even light critiques like this, which you can say is somebody's just opinion. Whether it's valid or not, however you feel, it's just an opinion. His acting hasn't improved. It's not the worst thing in the world for a wrestler. You perform well in the ring. You might do better promos. Your character might be funny. It doesn't matter. It's some people that was never great promos that ended up being good in wrestling. And Undertaker couldn't cut a promo for so long. So it's fine that the acting or one said thing is not improved. That's fine. But when you respond to so much hate and people attack your wife and they attack you and they make fun of you and all that, sometimes living the gimmick becomes too far. And we got some more to show you. This is his apology. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it says, I took out my hatred for the IWC on Sandy and inadvertently others who are affected by MS. She didn't deserve it. For that, I sincerely apologize. Moving forward, I'll do better. Again, apology. You did take it out. You apologized as you should have. A lot of critiques from why algorithms and certain companies do it. That's a whole nother story. I just want to talk about the gimmick and how his gimmick went too far and how his gimmick is based off the hatred for the IWC. So let's take this down for a minute before we go into I'll change my mind. Let's stay here for a minute. AEW star Ricochet is facing a ton of backlash this week after he told a woman he's glad she's battling multiple sclerosis, leading to the wrestler to share his regret over his statement. This is said by TMZ. TMZ. How much you hate them? Major news source is sharing that you told a woman this. That is not a good look for AEW. That was actually shown at 8:30 on March the 18th. A whole day after you said it. Maybe even a few days. I don't remember what day he exactly said it. But TMZ said it. Now, I don't know if he'll lose his job, but to be fair, some of the other people that have said things, that done things, one didn't get his contract, and the other kind of didn't have it hit TMZ and other sites. But there have been cases of extremism that Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes, might not have said. And now we have this, but this time TMZ has said it. Warner Brothers is not happy about it. And this, I want to get into the more of the story, because I said on this channel, we're going to spend the last 3 minutes talking about Ricochet and how his gimmick has caused this, right? Now, for people that don't know, Ricochet has wrestled all over the world. He was a big attraction. He was a main attraction at multiple companies. He was a main eventer style. He went to WWE NXT, where he was an attraction, one of the main attractions, but he wasn't the man. And then he went to main roster WWE, where he kind of floundered. Vince didn't know how to use him. He saw him as a flippy dude, but he always had this one critique that he couldn't cut promos, and he wasn't that good at acting. Amazing in the ring, amazing athleticism, did cool things. So they kind of put him in a bubble where that's where he was. So he did that for years. Now he has something to prove. He goes to AEW, and they give him more creative reign. He has more control and everything. Shout out to AEW for that. Being able to give their roster more of a creative feel of their own character and create their own thing instead of putting people in a box. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it does not. But in Ricochet's case, it seemed to work. Not that he was a main event star, but he was an attraction, and he was a good hand, and he got to have fun and do what he wanted to do. But it felt like he always had something to prove from the WWE time. That I could cut promos. I could be this heel. I could be this character. And I could do all of these things to prove them wrong, to the point where it felt oftentimes he would overtly criticize WWE. He would say things that put other people in weird situations, like Sami Zayn and them, in which he said Finn Balor and Sami Zayn, which we don't know how they felt about him saying they neutered them and they're not big stars. I don't know how Sami Zayn feels about WWE. He's had his moments, and I'm pretty sure he's on the course to win a world championship. And Finn Balor was the first Universal Championship. Injuries have kind of hindered him a little bit, but they had chances. They have shine. He's in a great storyline that looks like it's going to be him versus Dominic. But he says this, and he said they feel this way, which could lead people to say they have talked to him, and then repercussion that, oh, you don't feel this way? We might not push you. Or just them feeling like, oh, you trying to make things awkward at work for me. So he, like I said, again, he says this thing out of his hatred for what other people are saying in his image. But the one problem is, when you try too hard to prove people wrong, when you try overtly too hard to prove to other people that they are wrong, sometimes you do too much. I will be the best heel ever. I will say the most despicable things. I will do things that I shouldn't do. Listen, even in the 90s when they said despicable things, it was more, oftentimes we found out later that it was scripted and it was meant to, and the person didn't really mean it. And oftentimes it was shock value. And oftentimes we didn't know the seriousness of things back then. For instance, we didn't know what certain illnesses was and certain things. So we made fun of it more often. And it kind of led to you was able to get away with it. Now in the modern era, when you have the internet and you know more things and you know how hard it is for somebody else. Because in the 90s, you did not know how hard it was for somebody with MS. But in 2026, you can literally go on the internet and see the struggles and their documentaries and their YouTube videos. You have all this information to you. So now it's less of an excuse that you say these things compared to when you could be ignorant in the 90s and just smoke and drink and stayed away from everything and just run on the road on the thing when you didn't have to meet people. So now he is now in this situation in which his gimmick has caused him harm, and his hatred for the criticism of a certain group, as he said, the IWC, has led him to a possible firing situation, because we just had one with Trey, which, if you know, Ronda Rousey said horrible things and Trey says similar things, but they didn't let Trey join, but they let Ronda join, so we don't know how it's going to work. Ricochet is not like the biggest star in the company, so could he be let go compared to somebody that people said was a pillar like Sammy Guevara? Who knows? But the thing, I want to know y'all opinion. What do y'all think about it? Did the gimmick go too far? Or is he really just an evil person? I don't want to think he's just an evil person. I think his gimmick and just saying things and was in the moment of heel. And among the time, I don't know if y'all know this, people were saying crazy things to him. So he's probably just in the heat of the moment being heel, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to give it back and take it in. Because before that, people were saying crazy things to him too. So they probably saw a clip, said that joke, like, oh, he still hasn't gotten better over time as an actor. He got upset, said something. So did the gimmick destroy him? Could it ruin his AEW career, in which he had new life? Not as the main attraction, but as a good hand getting to do something you love. Let me know that. And by the way, I want to say this too. I was about to end it. But the excuse making for these fan bases, WWE and AEW, I don't want to exclude one, for when their character do something, it lead to this too. When you say it's okay, they just doing heel work, and then they take it too far, you look kind of silly when they like, oh, he's just doing heel work. I don't know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to that notification bell. Overall99media.org, which is in the description. You can find everything about us. Let me know your thoughts on the Ricochet situation. And we're out. Peace.